أهلا بيكم. النهاردة بنغوص في فصل مهم قوي من رواية امال عظيمة لتشارلز ديكنز، الفصل ال16 تحديدا. بنحلل فيه الاعتداء الغامض على أخت بيب البطل والتداعيات بتاعته. المصدر بتاعنا هو الفصل نفسه، وهدفنا نفهم الأدلة وردود الأفعال والأسئلة اللي سابوها لنا الفصل ده. الفصل بيبدأ وإحساس بيب الراوي بتاعنا بالذنب مسيطر عليه تماما، لدرجة إنه للحظة بيشك إنه ممكن يكون ليه دور في اللي حصل لأخته. بس الحقيقة بسرعة بتظهر وبتغير الصورة دي. أول حاجة الجدول الزمني بتاع ليلة الحادثة.
فعلا الجدول الزمني ده نقطة محورية جدا. هو بيبرأ شخصية مهمة زي جو. يعني هو كان بره البيت في الحانة من حوالي 8:15 لغاية تقريبا 10:15. أخته شافوها آخر مرة كويسة قبل الساعة 9، فلما جو رجع لقاها على الأرض فاقدة الوعي. ده بيثبت إنه بريء تماما، بس في نفس الوقت بيفتح الباب لأسئلة أكتر، خصوصا مع الدليل الغريب اللي لقوه جنبها، القيد الحديد بتاع السجين ده اللي كان مبرود ومفتوح
بتاعه. النقطة دي بقى بتربط عند بيب بحاجة قديمة، سر قديم ليه علاقة بسجين هو ساعده زمان يبرد ايده. بس الغريب انه بدل ما يشك في السجين نفسه، تفكيره بيروح في اتجاه تاني خالص.
ودي حتة مهمة جدا في فهم شخصية بيب ونفسيته. هو مش بيتهم السجين بالاعتداء، لكن شايف ان الأداة نفسها، القيد ده، جاية من سره القديم، وده بيخليه يحس بمسؤولية، يعني مسؤولية غير مباشرة مرعبة. عشان كده شكوكه بتروح لأورليك مساعد الحداد اللي كان على خلاف مع أخته، وكمان الراجل الغريب، الراجل اللي شافه في الحيانة قبلها اللي كان معاه مبرد شبه اللي استخدمه السجين. تركيزه على دول رغم ان مبرراتهم قد تبدو مش قوية قوي، بيورينا قد ايه احساسه بالذنب مسيطر على تفكيره، لدرجة انه مش قادر يقول الحقيقة اللي هو عارفها او اللي بيشك فيها.
وفي وسط اللخبطة الداخلية بتاعت بيب دي بنشوف التحقيق الرسمي بقى، يعني ماشي بشكل يكاد يكون كوميدي فاشل بصراحة. المحققين بيقبضوا على ناس غلط، بيحاولوا يلفوا الحقائق عشان تناسب نظرياتهم مش العكس، لدرجة انهم شكوا في جو نفسه في السر طبعا.
ممكن نشوف ده كنقد ساخر من ديكنز للسلطات وقتها، أو يمكن هو استخدم ده عشان يخلي اللغز الحقيقي ما يكتشفش بسهولة والتركيز يروح لحاجة تانية. وده اللي حصل فعلا، التركيز اتحول لحالة الأخت الصحية بعد الاعتداء. حالتها كانت سيئة جدا، الإصابات كانت عنيفة، أثرت على مخها وعمودها الفقري، سببت لها إعاقة دايمة، فقدت القدرة على الكلام والحركة الطبيعية، حتى السمع والبصر اتأثروا، والذاكرة كمان بقت بتستخدم لوح صغير كده عشان تحاول تتواصل.
وهنا بتدخل شخصية محورية تانية، بيدي، بتيجي عشان تساعد في رعاية السيدة جو، وبتبقى فعلا سند لبيب وجو. والأهم بقى إنها هي اللي قدرت تفهم العلامة الغريبة اللي الأخت كانت مصممة ترسمها على اللوح ده، حاجة كده شبه حرف تي أو مطرقة. دي كانت لحظة مهمة قوي.
أيوة، ملاحظة ذكية جدا من بيكلي فعلا. بعد ما بيك فشل يفهم الإشارة دي، بيكلي ربطتها على طول بأورليك الحداد والمطرقة بتاعته، واعتبروا ده يعني خيط قوي ممكن يوصل المعتدي. لكن هنا بقى بتحصل المفاجأة الأكبر، رد فعل الأخت لما جابوا أورليك قدامها بناء على طلبها هي برسم الرمز ده. بدل ما نشوف خوف أو اتهام أو أي حاجة منطقية،
لا خالص، اللي شفناه كان أغرب بكتير صراحة. بيبان عليها إنها مبسوطة إنه موجود وقلقانة إنها تكون على وفاق معاه. بتحاول ترضيه، تبتسم له، بتراقبه بحذر شديد كأنها بتتأكد إنه مش زعلان منها. الوصف في الرواية دقيق جدا، كأنها طفلة بتحاول تسترضي سيد قاسي أو حاجة كده. تصرف محير ومقلق جدا. وفضلت تطلب حضوره برسم المطرقة دي تاني.
دور على أورليك مباشرة، لكن سلوكها هي نفسها في وجوده بينفي تماما فكرة الاتهام البسيطة دي. السلوك ده بيطرح أسئلة أعمق بكتير عن طبيعة العلاقة اللي كانت بينهم أصلا قبل الحادثة، وعن تأثير الصدمة والخوف الشديد، ويمكن نوع من السيطرة أو الإكراه كان موجود.
يعني اللغز ما بقاش مجرد مين اللي ضربها، لا، اللغز بقى ليه بتتفاعل مع المشتبه به الرئيسي بالشكل الغريب ده. ايه اللي ورا التصرف ده؟ السلاح موجود والمشتبه بيه متحدد بطريقة ما من الضحية نفسها، لكن رد فعلها قلب كل حاجة
تماما. الفصل ده عمل نقلة ذكية جدا، بدل لغز بوليسي بقى عندنا لغز نفسي واجتماعي أعمق، بيخلينا نفكر في أشكال التواصل اللي ابعد من الكلام، وإزاي الصدمة والخوف ممكن يشوهوا قدرة الواحد على التعبير عن الحقيقة.
وده بيسيبنا نتسائل فعلا، ايه المعنى الحقيقي ورا رسم المطرقة ومحاولات الاسترضاء الغريبة دي؟ هل دي رسالة تحذير مثلا أو استغاثة بس بشكل مشوه؟ ولا ده تعبير عن علاقة قوة معقدة كانت موجودة قبل الاعتداء؟ حاجة تخلي الواحد يفكر كتير بعد ما يخلص الفصل ده، مش كده؟
Okay, so imagine this. You're just thrown right into it. One moment, everything's normal. The next, your sister's been attacked savagely.
Yeah.
And in that immediate chaos, you see it, this awful piece of evidence, a convict's leg iron filed through, lying right there.
And that discovery, that chilling detail, plunges us straight into chapter 16 of the text, Voice Yes.
Right.
This isn't just like a dry report. It's very much a first-person account, walking us through the narrator's shock, his initial thoughts, how he starts trying to piece it all together.
And what's really striking is that immediate sense of unease, almost. Like he feels somehow involved, or maybe just more suspicious because it's his sister.
Exactly. He even mentions George Barnwell, that story. It kind of shows how stories can shape our gut reactions, you know, even in a crisis.
It's almost primal, isn't it? That self-questioning. But thankfully, he does shift pretty quickly to try to be more logical about it. Starts building a timeline for that night. So Joe, his brother-in-law, he was out at pub.
Yeah, the Jolly Bargeman.
Yeah, between about 8:15 and maybe 9:45.
Okay.
And crucially, someone else saw the sister, a farm worker. Saw her alive at the kitchen door just before 9. They just said goodnight. Simple as that.
So a clear time frame. And when Joe gets back, just before 10, the scene he finds is just deeply unsettling.
Yes.
Sister's on the floor.
Yeah.
But the fire, it isn't low, suggests she wasn't gone long or there wasn't a big struggle beforehand.
Oh, okay.
And the candle's been blown out. But, and this is key.
No forced entry.
Exactly. No sign of forced entry, nothing stolen. That kind of pushes you away from thinking it was just a random break-in gone bad.
Points to something more personal, more targeting.
Seems like it. And then, of course, there's the weapon itself.
The leg iron, horrifying, blunt, heavy. You can tell it caused terrible damage. Head, spine.
And the force used, just throwing it down like that afterwards, speaks volumes about the violence.
And the fact it is a convict's leg iron filed through, that just adds this whole other layer of weirdness and confusion.
Well, and what's really useful here is Joe's background. He's a smith, right?
Right. Yeah.
So he looks at it and says, pretty quickly, that the filing wasn't recent. It was done some time ago.
Okay. That's a crucial detail.
And it gets backed up later by people from the hulks, you know, the prison ships.
Ah, right.
They know what they're looking at, and they agree with Joe. Adds a grim kind of certainty to it.
So the filing is old work.
Old work. And importantly, they confirm this specific leg iron didn't belong to the two guys who'd escaped the night before.
Oh.
Yeah, one of them was already caught, still wearing his irons.
Yeah.
So that lead, the obvious connection, it just dissolves.
Right. So the narrator, he knows he saw a convict filing an iron on the marshes. His convict. So he makes the connection. This must be the same iron. But this is interesting. He doesn't immediately think his convict did the attacking.
Yeah, why is that?
Right.
It seems like the most obvious link, doesn't it?
It does. But his reasoning, as he explains it, it's more about opportunity, maybe motive. He doesn't see how his convict fits this particular crime.
Okay, so if not his convict, then who?
His suspicion shifts. Two other people come to mind. Orlick.
Orlick. There's history there.
Definite history. Bad blood. And the other is that strange man he met, the one with the file who'd lost the banknotes.
Right. So he's widening the net, considering other possibilities, even when one seems obvious. That's good investigation, I suppose.
Let's look at those suspects, though. Orlick. Well, his alibi seems pretty decent, actually.
Does it?
Yeah, he went into town. People saw him, different pubs, talking to various people all evening.
Okay.
And then, critically, he walks back home with the narrator himself and Mr. Wopsle.
So presence accounted for, more or less. The only real thing against him is that argument he had with his sister.
Exactly, that pre-existing quarrel. But the narrator admits arguments weren't exactly rare between them.
It shows how tricky it is relying on, like, circumstantial stuff or just bad feelings between people, doesn't it?
Right.
Easy to suspect him, harder to prove anything.
Definitely. So Orlick's may be shaky, but not a slam dunk. Then there's the strange man.
The one with the banknotes.
Right. The narrator kind of dismisses him pretty quickly. His logic is, well, the sister was going to give the money back, so no obvious motive for violence there.
No financial reason, at least.
And the attack itself, it was sudden, silent. Doesn't sound like a robbery attempt or a fight that escalated.
True. Doesn't quite fit that scenario.
So it's this unfolding puzzle. And while all this external stuff is happening, the narrator's dealing with this massive internal thing.
A secret.
Yeah, this secret about helping the convict on the marshes, giving him food, the file, inadvertently.
He must feel awful. That guilt. The fear that he might have actually, provided the weapon.
It's weighing on him heavily, and he's wrestling with telling Joe. It's this old secret tied with his childhood fears and fantasies.
Yeah, it's a huge thing to carry. Should he tell Joe? Could it help? Or would Joe just think he's crazy or be angry? It's a classic dilemma about secrets in close relationships.
And in the end,
He puts it off. Decides to wait for a, quote, new occasion, which really shows how scared he is, how delicate things are.
then the official investigation gets underway. The constables arrive, the Bow Street runners.
The extinct red waistcoated police. as he calls them.
Yeah, with a bit of dark humor there. And it sounds like their methods were less than stellar.
That's putting it mildly. It's actually a fascinating glimpse into early policing, or the lack thereof. They seem to just grab suspects, try to make the facts fit their pet theories.
Not exactly evidence-based.
Not really. Those knowing and reserved looks they give everyone at the Jolly Bargeman seems more like putting on a show than actual detecting.
And ultimately they fail. They don't find the culprit.
No, completely missed the mark. Makes you wonder how often that happened back then.
Meanwhile, the sister, she's in a terrible state. The attack left really devastating permanent damage.
It's brutal. Her sight is disturbed, hearing impaired, memory shot, and her speech is mostly unintelligible.
Communication must have been incredibly difficult. They had to use a slate, right, for her to write things down.
Yes, the slate becomes essential.
Ah,
But even that leads to these heartbreaking, almost darkly funny misunderstandings.
like what?
Well, her handwriting is bad. Joe's not great at reading. So she writes something. He thinks it says mutton when she meant medicine.
Oh, wow.
Or tea for Joe himself.
Yeah.
Or baker when she means bacon. It just highlights the frustration, the isolation of not being able to communicate properly.
Yeah, that's awful. But there were some slight changes for the better in her temperament.
Yes, surprisingly. Amidst all this, she apparently becomes more patient, her temper improves, but those episodes of mental confusion, the aberration, they keep happening. It's a constant reminder.
And then Biddy comes into the picture.
Right, sort of conveniently after Mr. Wopsle's great aunt passes away.
Fortunate timing, in a way.
Very much so. She arrives and is just this huge help, especially for Joe, who was obviously just crushed by seeing his wife like that day after day.
She provides real support.
Practical, emotional, absolutely. And there's another little detail revealed around then apparently the police, in their wisdom,
Yeah.
they actually suspected Joe for a while, unbeknownst to him.
Seriously, his own wife.
Yeah. Again, it just underlined how flawed their investigation was. Jumping to conclusions, misdirecting suspicion.
Wow. Okay. So Biddy's there helping out, and then she makes this incredible breakthrough.
The sign on the slate.
Yes. The sister keeps drawing this curious T over and over. She's desperate for them to understand it.
And the narrator's trying so hard. He's guessing every T word he can think of. Tar, toast, tub. Nothing works.
He even thinks maybe it looks like a hammer because of the shape. Tries different kinds of hammers, even a crutch.
It's such a perfect example of how logic fails when you're dealing with, trauma and broken communication. He's trying so hard, but he just can't get there.
But Biddy
Biddy gets it
almost
instantly.
What is it?
It is a hammer. Specifically, Orlick's hammer.
Ah, because she can't remember his name.
Exactly. She's lost the name, but she has the association, the tool he uses.
Wow. Okay, so they bring Orlick in.
They bring Orlick into the kitchen, and his mannerisms are noted. He's kind of slouching, wiping his forehead. Bit awkward.
And the sister's reaction, this must be it, right? Fear, anger, recognition.
That's what you'd expect. But no, it's
Okay.
completely the opposite and utterly baffling.
What does she do?
She seems anxious to be on good terms with him. Like she's pleased he's there. She even offers him a drink.
Pleased towards the man she's presumably identified via the hammer.
It makes no sense on the surface. It's this really conciliatory behavior, almost like a child trying to appease someone they're scared of, maybe.
Yeah.
It's deeply unsettling.
She keeps drawing the hammer, and Orlick keeps showing up.
Yes, this pattern continues. She draws the hammer, he comes by. But nobody, not the narrator, not Orlick himself apparently, seems to understand what's really going on or what she means by it. The mystery just deepens.
Okay, so let's try and pull the threads together from this chapter. We've got the savage attack, the leg iron clue, which is significant but doesn't lead where expected.
Right.
The narrator's own shifting suspects his convict, then Orlick, then the stranger, their alibis or lack thereof, and then this completely bizarre turn with the sister, Biddy, deciphering the hammer sign, and the sister's weirdly welcoming reaction to Orlick.
It leaves us with huge questions, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Who really did attack her? Why? That's still completely open.
And what on earth is going on with the sister's behavior towards Orlick? What does that signify? It's profoundly mysterious.
This whole deep dive really makes you think about, well, memory, communication, how trauma just completely messes with everything.
Yeah.
You have to consider, how much is the sister's altered state influencing her actions? And how much is that influencing how we interpret things through the narrator?
It really shines a light on how limited our own understanding can be, doesn't it? The assumptions we make when trying to figure something out, especially something this traumatic.
Absolutely. It forces you to look past the surface, to question the narrative itself, and think about all those unspoken dynamics. The unreliability of it all when you're facing the unknown makes you really ponder what's truly going on beneath the surface.